Hi, everybody. I'm Nina Bosky, and I am so excited. Many of you know me. Obviously, these are my pages, but I wanted to share with you a wonderful human being, a colleague, and a fellow transformational leader, Susan Leahy. Welcome.
Hi,
Woohoo.
Nina. How are you? Excited to be here.
You're one of my most favorite people. You are so filled with energy in life and passion. And I wanted to have you on because you have a brand new project that you're working on. And I think it's something that we could all use. Whether we're in relationship right now or getting ready for a relationship, I'm sure you can give some tools for people. And tell us a little bit about your project.
Yeah, well, I'm excited that we've just launched a podcast website called Happy Married Chicks. Now, if you're not married, that's okay. This is about being happy and what does it really take to be happy in relationship. And so much of the happiness conversation starts with allowing yourself to be happy in the most important relationship that you're in, and that's the relationship that you're in with yourself. So,
And so what would they expect if they were going to be listening to you about happiness and obviously marriage, and
yeah.
obviously it says chicks, so I imagine that you're speaking to the
Speaking to
female
women, I'm
audience. Yeah.
speaking to women. I'm a woman speaking to women. I think the creation of Happy Married Chicks. I have a co-host that I work with. Her name is Jillian Andrew, and her and I are friends living down here in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. And I really respect Jill's marriage. I love their marriage, and I think she feels kind of the same for my marriage. And we realized that there's this conversation about love and marriage that's so heavy, and it's
Yes.
almost become socially acceptable to complain about our partners, and I think that Happy Married Chicks really was born out of the desire to up level the conversation, because a conversation that's heavy is only making women's lives heavier, and we don't
Yeah.
need any more on our shoulders. And so how do we really support women to step more fully into their happiness? Because for me, happiness is where my power lies. And I want the women in my
Mm.
life to be more powerful. And that means being more happy. That's the price you pay.
That's
If
the
you want
price
to be
you pay.
powerful, that's the
And I
price.
have to say, for those of you who have listened to me talk to people about when they're in relationship, I will utilize the example used to me. I said, it was something about the belief series. Remember, it was Oprah's
Mhm.
belief series. And I said, what do you believe in? And you were like, win-win. And I'm like, what does that mean? And you said, when my husband and I get into an argument, I will go back to him and say, you know what? Let's make this a win-win. I
Mhm.
don't want to have you lose and me win and vice versa. So tell people, because it's now coming from the originator
There it
that's
is.
talking about that. What is the concept? So
Right.
tell them the
For
concept.
me, I mean, I fight with my husband the same way every time. We have in our marriage, we have what's called a mission statement for our marriage. It's our anchoring statement. So when we get knocked off our center, which we do, when we fight, which we do, when we're not feeling good, which we sometimes do, we go back to our anchoring statement, which is we will be in a happy, healthy, loving, and fun marriage. So now we're not fighting against each other. We're fighting towards our anchor. And so I'll always start with our anchor. You know what, Jared? We will be in a happy, healthy, loving, and fun marriage. And I'm not feeling really fun right now. And then I follow it up with, I think the statement that you've shared with your audience is, and Jared, you deserve to feel good, and I deserve to feel good. And this
Yes.
doesn't feel good. So what are we going to do so that we can feel good? And I think a lot of people are not happy because they don't really know how to fight in the direction of happiness.
No, they fight for almost the exact same thing or exact opposite of what they want. And it doesn't
Yes.
make the person want to come forward. And one of the things that I love about this is that if you say that up front to somebody, whether it's a romantic relationship or just a regular relationship
That's
with
right.
your friend or your family, it disarms the other person to know that you're not about the attack. You're
Yeah.
about really trying to understand. And I love that about
And
that.
I wanted to say this because I also want people to know that this isn't the soft approach. This isn't the S&N smile and nod and just try to act like you never feel any pain. Like in my relationship, I rely a lot on my feelings. And if something feels off, I listen to that, but I don't set my husband up for failure. I set my husband up for success. And so I will look at him and say, you know what, there's something going on with me and we're going to have a tough conversation, but I want to let you know that we're going to both walk out of that conversation and we're going to be winners. Right. So
but that's a beautiful intention though, because I think we miss that part. We forget about our intention and then we just go like this and the other person goes, and then all like, you know what, you're in a big fight. And then that fight, because it's not properly dealt with, deals with another fight and deals with another fight. And pretty soon you're on opposite sides of the house and you forget that you've lost that connection. Yeah. And I think that one of the things that you're saying, which is really interesting, you're talking about happiness, and happiness is a broad topic, right? So what do you mean I get happy with me, like empowering me? How does that work in regards to you and then marriage?
Full stop. So I'm going to say something that I don't think that we hear a lot about happiness. I believe that happiness is truly owning your capacity. I want everyone to think about how limited we think about ourselves, right? So there's some things I don't let myself feel, and there's some places I don't let myself go, which really is a sense of like you're confining yourself.
Yeah, what if box?
You're putting yourself in a box, right? But what if happiness is this ability to really own and accept your capacity to feel everything that you're feeling, your capacity to own everything that you're thinking, your capacity to deal with every issue that you're like, I have an infinite amount of capacity. And so when I'm able to own my own capacity, then all of a sudden I'm not so fearful when I'm engaging in difficult situations.
So I got a question for you, because I could hear some people say, what happens if I don't know how to own my capacity?
Yeah.
Maybe I might not be at that place.
Yeah. And this is really such a great question. Like, what do you mean? I don't know. But we've got to start owning our capacity by starting to parent ourselves the way that most of us were never parented. We need to start validating ourselves. Let's just go there. In order to start owning your capacity, can you start validating yourself? Because most of us are not in a conversation of validation. We're actually in an internal conversation where we're tearing ourselves down.
Or the other person too.
Right?
You know what I mean?
Well, it just echoes out. If I'm tearing myself down, you know that I'm echoing that conversation with the people in my life. So I have to start owning my capacity by really validating myself. Women, validate, I am worthy.
That's such an important one. Yeah.
I mean, that right there, that women, I don't feel worthy. Well, you've got to start validating, you know what, I am worthy, and say it and say it and say it and say it until the feeling catches up.
Well, Susan, you and I were talking right before we jumped on and to do this, and you're a working mom. You've got two small children and you're juggling, right? And I know when I'm coaching women as well, they're juggling, right? What would you say to the mother out there that is trying to have the best marriage, really great, their children happy and healthy, stay connected to themselves and live at their capacity? Yeah. How do you do it and make it work?
Well, and this is an interesting question, because I know in my marriage, especially after I had children, it was amazing how difficult it was for me to take space for myself. I felt guilty if I went to the gym. I felt guilty if I went, so while I'm working to provide for my family, there's this other layer of guilt that I've lobbed on myself. Right. And so all of a sudden I can't really enjoy my work because I'm feeling guilty because I'm not with my kids. And so I want women to start looking at the filter that they're putting on themselves. Yeah. And if that filter doesn't feel good, get rid of the filter, acknowledge it. Ooh, I see. I've got the guilt glasses on. I want to take that filter off because I want to love myself clean. Now, hear when I say this, I want to love myself clean, because you see a lot of moms that do that with their kids, right? They will love their children through the filter of worry.
Mhm.
right?
Yes,
And
yes.
I'm so in the worry filter is in front. And so when that love comes out on the child, it's not clean.
It's
So
filled with worry.
it's filled with worry. So it comes
Yeah.
out on the kid and it doesn't feel good. That's the same thing that's happening to ourselves. We're trying to deal with ourselves with a filter that doesn't really feel good. And you know what? You deserve to feel good. One of the things, if you go to Happy Married Chicks, there's access to a free complimentary webinar that says you deserve to feel good in love. And it's the
Aw.
You Deserve to Feel Good in Love webinar series, because that's really what I believe. And I have to first deserve to feel good in love with myself.
Mhm.
And women, I think we are so good at loving everybody else.
Yes, yes. It's so true, and we forget about us.
Yeah.
Uh, so when is the first podcast? When does it start? Is it already
So
launched? Tell us a
officially
little bit
it's
about
up.
this.
It's up. You can go to happymarriedchicks.com and you can listen to, we have actually a special quarantine series that we're launching with, because we're speaking directly into, oh my gosh, what is it to be a happy married chick while you're locked in home with your kids and your husband?
And homeschooling a lot of people, right?
A lot of people, I used to say I'd rather shoot myself in the eye and live than homeschool my children.
Oh my gosh.
So maybe I'm dealing with my worst nightmare. And I mean, in a lot of ways, it's been really beautiful, but it's hard. It is
Yeah.
really a lot of work, and it will require a lot more of you and your marriage, and but owning that capacity, and
So
giving love back
what
to
will they
yourself.
find when they come to Happy Married Chicks? So are they going to find tools? There's a webinar series, but
Yeah,
they'll
yeah.
listen to you guys talk about stuff as well. And obviously COVID is going to be a big one.
Hmm.
Um, and I would imagine what you said is about empowering the woman with herself first and
Yes.
foremost.
Yeah. And then, because what happens, I think, sometimes is that we get so angry that we're not happy that we then get angry at people around us. Right.
Yeah.
And we desire people, and we want people to have a bigger role in creating our happiness than they can really have. And so, how do I really empower myself? We talk a lot on the podcast with women's relationship with power, because there is no more bigger power in the world than love, right?
Mhm.
And so we talk a little bit about the power dynamic, and just to kind of give you just a taste of it.
Mhm.
And I love models, and I like making things simple and digestible. Is that the sense of, there's two power paradigms. Am I in power over with myself? And think about what power over
Mhm.
is. It's like an energetic arm wrestle. Someone's
Mhm.
going to walk out a winner, someone's going to walk out a loser. And we can be in power over in our own thinking. We can be in a power over dynamic with our partner, which gets us
Mm.
nowhere, right? So if
Yeah, that's a
we're in
really
that power
interesting point
paradigm,
about, yeah. So what do you do when you say about power over? What's the alternative?
so the alternative, and I love this, the other side of that is asking yourself, well, how do I be more in power with? Right? So
Mm.
empower with is really the win-win, like where we started.
I like that. We're
So
back to the
empower with,
win-win.
there it is. It all goes back to the win-win, right? Because there's nothing more loving than generating a win-win. You
Well,
know?
and I think if I'm empowered with, it feels more of a togetherness. The minute I start to feel I'm right, because my thing is when I get in a fight with my honey, I become righteous.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I would never
As
do
do I,
that.
as do I.
I'm like, okay. And the minute I start to hear that tone, I start to go, okay,
Yeah.
do you really think he's going to go, oh, yes, sweetheart, I can't wait to please you?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. No,
He's just
yeah,
not
that's
going.
it's
He's
not
not going
happening.
to. But I
Yeah.
think the thing is the key is awareness. And also, not if I can catch myself, I'm then not going power over,
Yeah.
because that righteous
Yeah.
energy is a power over. I'm going to now tell you why you're wrong and I'm right.
Well, and let's really play with that, because that's the trap of what happens in a lot of when relationships really end. You'll see this where you've got I'm going to use the woman as the example, but it's not always the woman. But let's just say you have a woman who is in there. There's a couple in the power over dynamic, and in years and years and years, the woman felt disempowered. The woman didn't feel like she was heard. The woman didn't feel like she was
Mhm.
nurtured. The woman felt like she was the victim. The woman felt like the man was trying to have power over. And then what happens is that power dynamic shifts, and the woman finally owns her power, and she's like, I'm divorcing you. It's over. And so now all of a sudden the woman has power over the man, or this could be vice versa. So when a lot of couples are getting divorced, what you see is just a shift in the power dynamic, because the reason I reach for divorce is because it's the only power that I have left in that moment to feel powerful.
I know you know what's so funny as you're talking, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, oh my gosh, this is like a really interesting next step for you guys. Not that you want to go to divorce, but I'm sitting there thinking to myself, happy divorced chicks.
Yes.
That's basically the power dynamic is how can, especially if you have kids, I'm seeing this where it becomes just this fighting, long after the marriage is over and they are divorced years
and it's
later.
Still power over. You're still in the power over
Yeah.
dynamic, and that power over dynamic never ends until you end it. It does not matter if your partner stays in power over. He needs, or your partner needs you to also buy into that dynamic for that dynamic to exist. But when you unplug from power over and you take your power and walk to the other side and say, you know what, I'm not playing that game anymore, then all of a sudden everything shifts, and you can really start owning your power. And you can all of a sudden start saying, wait a minute, you know what, I'm really angry, but I'm going to set you up for success. I'm really angry, but I'm going to figure out how to struggle to get to the win-win. So this is not about not having anger. This is not about not feeling. It's about having a different
relationship. And also choosing. You're talking about choice. And I think a lot of what happens is that, if we're stirring with all these emotions, we're not separating out what exactly is going on with me. We're projecting it out to the other person. So in a marriage, when you're just projecting it out, it's you, there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to change and shift.
That's right.
I remember a mentor of mine saying to me a long time ago, the best way to change a man, Nina, is to change yourself.
That's right. I mean, and so let's talk about the healthiest way to change ourselves.
Okay,
I mean, for me, who do I want to be? I want to be a loving, powerful, committed woman. One of the things that we do in Happy Married Chicks is, and I love it because it's really a conversation between two girlfriends, my friend Jillian and I, really talking about what does it mean to be happy, and bringing up a lot of these models. I'm a relationship coach. I'm a professional speaker. I'm a transformational leader, as you shared. So being able to be in this space with a girlfriend of mine, it's like you're kind of a part of a fun conversation that feels good and is full of possibility about your happiness in your relationship, rather than being in the typical conversation with your girlfriends where, oh my God, my husband's like a third child, which is almost like the acceptable way to talk about your relationship. And that's not hurting the man, that's hurting the woman. So I want women to be empowered in their dialogue. I want women to figure out a way to enroll themselves in greater joy. You know what joy stands for in my life, by the way?
What does it?
Joy stands for just open yourself. Like, I think about when I'm not feeling joy, I'm like this. I'm like,
I know, it's like this, right?
Right.
So, the thing that I love about your energy and being a transformational leader and even doing this is that I've seen you're walking your talk. And I love when I hear a transformational leader say to me, this shit is hard, man. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, relief instead of, I'm a transformational
leader. Let me tell you how to do it. Anybody who wants to tell you how to do it is not doing it. Like, this is an honest, authentic commitment to being in a conversation that never ends. I don't get to happiness and then be done.
No, that's not a destination.
No,
right?
It is an experience. I get to keep generating and generating and generating. And sometimes, Ina, I'm wildly successful. And I am super grateful for the tools and the experience and the training and the teaching and the practices that I am committed to using. But that doesn't make it foolproof.
No.
Right? I mean, this is a process. It's a very human, messy process. And there's going to be a lot of uncomfortableness, but there's going to be that much more joy. right?
Well, and
That's
I
what I think
think
is fun.
I love what you're talking about, joy and happiness. If you are keeping yourself contained and you're not allowing yourself to go inside and ask yourself and get curious about some of the things that are going on with you, you're going to stay in that containment and be walking around like this, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like that,
And so
right?
many women are. We're walking around
Mhm.
so contained and so stressed and so riddled with anxiety. And it's like, it's that sense of how many of us just want to open up. And we have to do that for
Oh,
ourselves first. And we have to be brave enough. I had a situation with a woman that I work with, and it was interesting because we were talking about, she's in a very masculine home. She's got
okay.
2 boys, a husband, and she has an ex-husband. And so there's a lot of masculine energy in her life. And she's talking about, how do I bring more of this energy into my home? And I said, you bring the energy because you bring the energy. And she said, but I talked to my son about it and he immediately rolled his eyes. And I said, see, that's where your commitment begins, is that you have to be so committed to your happiness that even when someone rolls your eyes, or rolls your eyes, that's really tricky. When they roll their eyes, when they
Yeah.
roll their eyes, you still stand in your commitment. But what happens is we wait and get the acceptance of someone else before we kind of stand in. You know what? Mom wants a little more joy. I'm just going to open myself. And I just open myself, and it's okay if people roll their eyes, and but if you keep doing it consistently, all of a sudden you'll see your husband just open himself, and you'll
Well,
see your kids
I
just open.
love what you're saying because it's very true. We're at the effect of
Yes,
somebody else. So if they're
yes,
closed, I'm going to be closed, right?
yes,
And I've
that's right.
noticed even my own relationship, if I approach it from a place of really curiosity and love and understanding, what am I getting back?
Yeah,
Curiosity, love, and
yeah,
understanding. If I
yeah.
go in there like,
You can be
well,
that, you can be that completely overt about it. Look, we're really angry at each other right now, but I'm going to stand here in love, curiosity, and openness. Give me a minute.
until I feel it.
Just give me a minute, right? But it's that sense of like, you have to talk yourself into the game you're trying to play before you can believe that you can be an invitation for anyone else to join you. So this isn't about you being I'm going to be self-righteously open, and and when you're ready to join me, it's like, no, let people see you go through your process, you know?
Well, I think this is going to be a fun ride for people and an invigorating, thought-provoking ride, knowing you the way that I do. So they go to happymarriedchicks.com, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then can they get it on other platforms as well? Is it going to be
Yep,
on
you
the
can get it
other?
on iTunes, Spotify, and yes, we will be up on YouTube as well. But visit
Wow.
iTunes and subscribe and leave some comments and interact with us. And again, I think what you said is really astute, because this isn't just a conversation. We happen to be 2 happy married chicks, but this really is a conversation about women owning their happiness. And we always say not everybody needs to be married, but if you are going to be married, let's figure out how to get you happy, because you can never underestimate the power of a happy woman.
Oh, that's a great ending thought right there. So go to happymarriedchicks.com. My friend and colleague, Susan Leahy, thank you so much. Love your energy, love your passion.
Thank you, Nina.